Good morning, everyone. Good morning where I am. Good day or good evening where you are. I'm doing my best here. Well, first I want to say I want to review the value of doing a loop of awareness and of doing love scoops. So one of the one of the biggest values of doing love scoops and of loop of awareness is that you are circulating your attention. And that gives you an experience of presence. That is giving attention to yourself. So most of us, unless we're really attending to it, are not really circulating our attention and are not really enjoying the circulation of attention and how that creates presence. So, the first thing I'd like you to experiment with today, I want to experiment a little bit with rhythm and how that contributes to your experience of being here fully, because that's where you get to be with yourself and be with others and you get to connect, and then out of that can come some collaboration. But if you're not here, it's very difficult to enjoy any of the benefits of being here. So loop of awareness will primarily give you a chance to be here. So what I'd like you to experiment with first is letting your attention, because you're probably focused in some way on what I'm saying. So I'd like you to really let all of your attention come out. And yeah, and notice how you do that. Yeah, beautiful. And I'd like you to exaggerate that. And a couple of things I notice as I'm looking is that I can tell that as you did that, some of you started holding your breath. So let yourself notice that. So go ahead and let yourself really look out and deliberately hold your breath. So for me, that creates kind of a little mini freeze. I start feeling scared. I start wondering about, is something wrong? Is something wrong with you? Is something wrong with me? So notice that just that slight little move of letting yourself go out and hold your breath at the same time. Now, let's just experiment with letting your attention go out, maybe over here, maybe to somebody else on the screen, letting it go out, and then deliberately letting yourself take a breath. So your attention is out, but you're taking a leisurely breath. And then notice what happens to your attention. So for me, that automatically changes my attention. For me, it kind of spreads it out and then it returns to me. So making these little changes, one change at a time is going to allow you to circulate your attention. So imagine if you were getting a glass of water and you just kept letting it fill and you never turned it off so that you could actually have a drink. So this is a way of you letting yourself fill the reservoir, but also experiencing it. So now let your attention go in. Let it really be going in to you. And notice how you do that. When you let attention rest on you, how do you do that? Where does it go? So often when I bring my attention in and I just keep bringing it in, I notice that that goes with more of an out breath. And then I hold my breath more on the out breath. So notice how that is for you when you give attention to you and you just keep giving attention to you. For me, I experience it as more and more and more and more. It feels heavy. And so my body gets a little bit more. So go ahead and do whatever you do when you keep giving yourself attention. Notice what happens to your body. And then I'd like you to imagine, I'm sitting on a swapper, so that goes up and down, but imagine that you were sitting or standing on a ball. You're sitting on a ball or you're standing on a rebounder and it's giving you just a little pulse. So notice when you're giving yourself attention, but you have a little internal pulse going, how that changes your sense of your presence. Because mostly we think of giving and receiving attention as coming from our eyeballs. And so a lot of this practice is to give you much more of a whole body. Is somebody standing on a rebound on a trampoline? That's fantastic. So letting yourself experience that you can be giving and receiving attention through your whole body. And today I want to especially play with rhythm. So the first rhythm is it's usually out, 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 out until, like I get exhausted, and then I go in until I feel exhausted. So what if you simply started shifting your attention? And I'm going to do it from the sides so that it's not just eyeballs. Now, the way that this usually happens in our culture, and especially pre-pandemic, is that it's going really, really, really fast. So now I'd like you to go get really speedy with your attention. It's going very fast. So you have all these things to keep up with, and all of these things that you've got to do, and all of these things you've got to keep track of. And then just pause and notice your experience of presence. So I feel a little frazzled just from that, 30 seconds of that. I feel a little like, like I've got my tentacles have gotten a little fried. Now, let yourself imagine, like for those of you who play sports, the like basketball players, the rhythm of a really satisfying dribble, that when you're bouncing, those of you who play soccer, the rhythm of shifting the ball from foot to foot. Those of you who've had the experience of jump rope, like the rhythm of getting ready to jump. So let yourself play with some different rhythms of shifting your attention. And when you shift it, let it actually bounce there for a little bit. So you shift it out and let it bounce around a little bit. Notice what you see, what you feel as you let your attention bounce around, and then let it bounce around in you. You can have yourself be a little benign pinball machine, letting the energy bounce around inside you and finding a rhythm that actually feels good to you. Because people, when you get into it, like those of you who practice dribbling, you could do it all day. You're just playing with it and you're trying different rhythms and you're feeling how that increases your sense of aliveness. Let yourself play with rhythms that feel satisfying to you. And if you go a little faster and then you let it go a little slower as you're shifting, my guess is that you'll find a speed or a range that feels delicious, feels more open to you. So if it helps to use your arms, to use your body, you can be standing and bouncing. Because I think a lot of what happens for people in stress is that we lose our rhythm. We lose our own sense of the moving through the world in and enjoying the journey. So the speediness, if you let yourself just for a moment go back to really, really, really speedy, just how fast can I go? How many things can I get done? How many eyeballs can I capture today? How many things can I put out in the world? How many things can I do all at the same time? So for me, immediately it brings my breath way up in my body. So notice what happens to your breath when you get really speedy. So most of us have a sense of, like, if you now get leisurely, you let yourself really let the rhythm, like when you're watching slow motion on the television, and even a really like a swing of a baseball bat, but it's really slowed down. Notice how it feels to you to let yourself get more leisurely. And if you get too leisurely, then you lose the rebound. So I invite you to let yourself really play with this of the shifting your rhythm. And as you're shifting your rhythm, let your attention go to another place. Like as you're bouncing the ball out there, let it actually be there for a moment and let your attention spread out among all of those places where the ball is going. And then let the rhythm come back inside you. And let it bounce around. Let the attention ball bounce around inside you and noticing where it might want to go. So mine just came in on my under my feet, and I'm feeling this nice bouncy under my feet. So letting it bounce out and then letting it bounce in. And then just for the fun of it, try on even a little bit different of a rhythm. You could try a little syncopation. Dun 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 dun. Dun. You could, yeah, so that it's not just like we used to dance in high school where we would go, from foot to foot to foot. So if you add in just a little bit of your own personal little movement in there, your own personal little signature, notice for me that creates so much more enjoyment of, oh, my attention circulates in and around. And I'm looking out the window now and I'm seeing that there's a car at my front door, which is unexpected. So I'm going to be just pausing for a moment while you all circulate your attention, and I'll be right back. Hello, can I help you? Here's one thing you can always count on, and that is that something unexpected will happen. So, what I noticed as I went to the door is that I was still in my bouncing of my attention. And so I was able to go, oh, it's Frank, the guy who's going to be doing our roof this week. And he is doing some measurements. So, this also, what I find in practicing the loop of awareness, especially, is it allows me to be flexible with the unexpected. And there's so much unexpected that's going on right now. Instead of, I used to have this attitude of this cannot possibly be happening. I have arranged my life very carefully so this kind of thing doesn't happen. And so I would always get sort of offended when it happened. So I'd like you to experiment this week with finding delicious rhythms for circulating your attention. And I'd love to hear too about what you are discovering. So you can come on to Mighty Networks and share that with us. So I'm going to now just pause for a moment and bounce my energy around and get ready to talk about our integrity card for today.